All right, good evening, y'all. Good evening to everybody who's watching the video. Right, we talking about Kanye West. I was never really a Kanye fan. I was not a fan of really any bigger, more modern artists until like more recently, and that still I'm not a Kanye fan, but I have listened through his entire discography as of this point. As of Vultures 2 releasing, we're still on the cusp of hearing Bully and Vultures 3, unfortunately, which I do not have a lot of hope in either of those projects. I hope they're good, but from what we heard from his last project, I don't have much faith in that type of situation. I feel like I have to disavow his sort of actions and like public statements he's put out around Jewish people, around being anti-Semitic, and around his mental illness, because I've been around a lot of people with similar or even the same mental illnesses, whether that be schizotypal disorders, or whether that be borderline personality disorders, or whether that be bipolar disorders. It's not the mental illness that leads you to that sort of situation, that sort of way of thinking. It makes you susceptible to self-destructive behavior, which I think is what we're seeing played out in like live in front of us. Although I am not a psychologist, I'm not a doctor. I have a lot of personal people inside my life that suffer from these sort of situations, these sort of illnesses, these sort of mental barriers or whatever. There's a rabbit hole you've clearly gone through based on the people you associate with, like Nick Fuentes or goddamn Alex Jones, but even Alex Jones was like, you can't say that, you shouldn't say that. Alex Jones being the voice of reason, the guy who peddles conspiracy theories on a daily basis, who peddles racism on a daily basis, homophobia, transphobia, all that type shit. Like a conversation with the same guy who said George Bush doesn't care about black people. The same guy who called out homophobia in hip-hop music. And then he's like, oh, I saw Jonah Hill in like 21 Jump Street and I like Jews again. I'm just saying, I don't fuck with that type of shit. And I think that has reflected his anti-Semitism, his objectification of certain groups of people, his just treatment of these communities has reflected inside of his music as of late. Kanye has disgusting, abhorrent, and deviant views on like people, on groups of people, on all these sorts of situations that, one, he has no business speaking on, especially in the way he's speaking on it. Getting that out of the way to begin with, so we can deconstruct the actual content of his discography. Before the last couple of years, I was never really I just hadn't gotten to modern hip hop like that. Like, I always had an appreciation for like Kendrick Lamar. I had an appreciation for I bumped a little bit of J. Cole. You know, I was always on that. I was on an Ice Cube timing. I was on NWA, and I loved NWA. I actually talked to one of the guys from Run DMC for a music class I was in. That was cool. I analyzed like a whole interview from him. I wrote like a whole paper on this guy from Run DMC. BC Boys. And by the way, shout out to BC Boys. Paul's Boutique genuinely changed like the landscape of hip hop forever back in 1989. For the purposes of this video, for the purposes of just expanding my hip hop knowledge in general, I decided to go through Kanye West's entire discography, front to back, College Dropout through Vultures 2. I have a playlist of every single song in his discography that I fuck with or found passable enough to be on this. I'm going to have some controversial opinions about some of these albums here that are typically universally beloved by Kanye West fans. Starting off with the College Dropout. College Dropout is probably my favorite Kanye West album. It just has the most down-to-earth, probably something I can chill and like smoke to. It has a real nice atmosphere to it. It has really nice features, really great production, and it has probably my favorite Kanye West song all time. That would be All Falls Down. And those are my thoughts on that album. Moving on to Late Registration. Late Registration, although I have an appreciation for it, I believe it is the weakest in the College trilogy. Has some, and I don't even like saying like whether an album has skips or not. Because if I had to cherry pick the songs that I like the most, the entire middle section of that album I kind of skip out on. And that's not like a dig, and I'm not trying to. It's just not what my ears were playing with at the moment. Touch the Sky with Lupe Fiasco. That's a really good one. That's a really good song. That's probably my favorite on the album. Moving on to Graduation. Now, Graduation is a really strong album for me. Is one of his best. There's not much to say that hasn't been said already about this album. Incredible features, incredible production, very natural evolution for his discography. Yeah, not much to say on that other than it's just a pretty good album. Not just pretty good. It's really good. But like, you know what I'm saying. Moving on to. I don't have the opinion you're supposed to have about this album. It's 808s and Heartbreaks. I don't like this album. I think the only two songs I have saved are Paranoid and Streetlights. I enjoy those ones. And I understand how influential this album is to other aspects of hip hop. And I understand what he was trying to do. Trying to have a completely just natural sound with no samples. This is just pure Kanye West. Then again, RoboCop is one of the worst songs I ever heard. One of the worst hip hop songs I ever heard. That was just trying to take itself seriously. Because you get a lot of joke songs that aren't trying to take itself seriously. So I'm going into this thinking 808s is probably going to be my least favorite. Completely escaping my mind that I have the Vultures to listen to. Moving on to My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. It's pretty good. I wouldn't give it the title of his best, but it's a pretty good album. Near the back end, it gets kind of weak. I do love the Pusha T features. Pusha T is an all-time great for me. I don't hold it in as high regard as some of my favorite albums. Even some of my favorite albums from here, I just don't think they touch them. You know. Moving on to his collaboration album with Jay-Z, Watch the Throne. It's just a very middle of the road. Again, I'm having a hard time recalling a lot of the songs from this album. It just felt like it passed over me. I don't know. Moving on to Yeezus. Yeezus, I felt, had like a lot of good tracks and a handful of bad tracks. Like Bound 2 is probably one of the all-time Kanye songs. Hold My Liquor, Black Skinhead, On Sight. Yes. Those are all like my personal picks from that album. Moving on to Life of Pablo. Life of Pablo is pretty good. I felt like it could have been better. Now here's where we're gonna get into a big issue I have with Kanye West, and it's that he is not a great lyricist, and he is an incredibly outstanding producer. And an example of what I think is some of his weakest lyricism and one of the biggest fumbles that he has in his entire discography is Father Stretch My Hands Part 2. And you get that incredible Metro Boomin beat, that incredible intro, that incredible beat drop. And then once we kind of get over that like chorus sort of situation, he's talking about bleached assholes and fucking models, and I'm like, you could have made an incredibly beautiful, compelling song with that, and you chose the words you chose. No More Parties in LA with the Sneak Up Kendrick feature. God damn, that's good. I like No More Parties in LA. Do not get it mixed up. Now, what's this one? Yay. Moving on to Yay. This album's real short. I think, I don't know, real short track list with a lot of hits on it. And it was just a nice, short, thought out, well produced album. Violent Crimes has an incredible message to it, a beautiful message to it. Anyway, moving on to Kids See Ghosts. Also, another short project released in the same year as Ye. My personal picks, I added every single song from this album. I think it's like 6 or 7 songs long. And just Fourth Dimension is the undeniable pick for me. It has an incredible atmosphere to it. It has an incredible groove to it. That whoa, that shit is a real fun listen. Moving on to Jesus is King. When it came out, a lot of people regarded it as Kanye's like worst album. And at the time of release, I can sort of get that from someone else's perspective, because I know a lot of people liked a lot of the other albums a lot more than I did. Sonically, I really enjoyed this album. I really enjoyed a lot of the gospel, the organs, the real spiritual and religious feel for it. But where it lets me down, what lets me down for it is the religious aspects of it. And as someone who is exploring religion myself, it feels like Kanye's making assertions and then just backing it up by like saying it's God. You know, he's making assertions and then creating a spiritual background for it, or like a spiritual gaze to put over it. He's had a lot better spiritual projects like Donda. I think he's made. Just the way he explores the concept of Jesus, the concept of God, and the concept of spirituality. I just feel it's really surface level. I lost my entire damn train of thought. So, because of my dumbass cat, y'all aren't gonna hear the end of my thoughts on this thing. As if anyone's like invested in what I have to say about Kanye Stan's discography. This shit's getting too long, man. Anyway, onto Donda. Donda, I think, was very well executed, very well produced. A lot better spiritual themes, a lot better religious exploration on this album. It's not something you'll listen to often. It's a very long track list, and I'm very underwhelmed with the with the goddamn album cover, because for those who are unintroduced, it's just a black square, man. And we got some really creative album covers from Kanye West in the past. And we get this, a project probably like one of his biggest, most grand, most explorative projects, and about his own mother, named after his own mother, and it's just a black screen or like a black page or whatever. And I get how that might just be an artistic choice. It's just, it kind of underwhelmed me. It kind of makes me forget about it a lot. And then we got Vultures number 1. Vultures 1. I could not sit through Vultures 1 in one sitting. I had to like stream half of it. I took a little break, refreshed with some Kendrick Lamar, a little bit of Pac, and then I came back to kind of scoop up the last half of the album. What do I even say about this? It's just not it's just to the point where Vultures 1 was released in his discography, it was the worst Kanye West album. And then Vultures 2 release. It's just full of fucking anti-Semitism. It's full of like weird objectification of women, like my bitch is a reference to like another bitch or some shit, or and Ty Dolla $ign with these hoes want to fuck my car, some shit like that. Kanye West talking about fucking Jewish bitches. It's just, I wish I could brush that shit out of my tongue, brush that shit out of my mouth, out of my ears. It leaves just a bad taste in my mind, you know, a bad taste in my damn mind. That's an incredible feat. I'm not excited for Bully. I'm not excited for Vultures 3. But you know what I am excited for? 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, Chromacopia by Tyler, the Creator drops. And you bet your ass tomorrow evening, we're going to be smoking and listening to Tyler, the Creator in my car tomorrow night. And you bet your ass I'm going to upload it. And I hope I can get like a same day or maybe like like early, like 3 o'clock in the morning the next day. But yeah, I'm real excited. I hope I can get this out tonight. I'm excited for that. Actually, this whole video I've been listening to Igor to kind of refresh my mind on Tyler the Creator. I hope y'all have like a good night and shit, or a good day, or good morning, or whatever the fuck. Like Truman from that Truman Show. And if I don't see you, good evening, good night, and good morning and shit.